Ever since the WoW Classic BlizzCon demo, I've been especially excited for the full release of WoW Classic, even more so than when it was initially announced. And honestly, I've found it quite confusing why the idea of playing a game from 2004 is more exciting to me than playing the current version of WoW or other modern upcoming MMOs. For that reason, I decided to sit down and really think about why the vanilla version of WoW is so much more appealing to me than Battle For Azeroth. And before we jump into it, no, it's not nostalgia. I never actually played vanilla when it was current content. I started WoW in late TBC and only really got to endgame in Wrath of the Lich King. I've played a few vanilla private servers getting to around level 25, but other than that, everything I know about it comes from research and private server experience. Number 1, a larger part of the world feels relevant. Something I think modern WoW suffers from, and most theme park MMOs in general, is that the world only feels as large as the game's latest content patch or expansion. Sure, there's a ton of old world places you can travel to in current WoW, but for the most part you never have a reason to. If you wanted to, you could get to level 20, then level exclusively with the dungeon finder, never setting a foot outside your faction's main city. In classic WoW, the maps of the Eastern Kingdoms and Kalimdor will both essentially be relevant content, and you'll need to go back to places you've previously outleveled for multiple reasons, such as travelling to dungeon and raid entrances rather than joining via a queue, doing your class quest lines, travelling to battleground entrances, fighting world bosses such as Lord Kazakh, Azuragos and the 4 Nightmare Dragons, as well as farming resources for money and the attunement quests. In addition, due to the fact that vanilla WoW had a much longer leveling process and too little quests to reach level cap from questing alone, you kinda have to travel to multiple zones doing every quest you can and grinding mobs along the way. Also, due to how flying isn't in the game, you'll actually need to think about things such as getting from A to B efficiently and bringing enough supplies when adventuring so you don't need to go back to town all the time. As a result of all this, even after a few weeks of Classic's launch, every zone in the game will still feel populated, which isn't something you can always say about the zones in WoW's newer expansions a few weeks post-launch. Number 2, the questing feels more like an RPG. A big reason I'm looking forward to WoW Classic is that it feels a lot more like an RPG when it comes to the game's questing. Quests don't appear on your minimap, you actually need to find them, and when you take a quest, you don't just get a big marker on the map telling you everything you need to know. You actually need to read the quest and find out what needs killing or collecting, using compass directions and exploring to find objectives instead. Additionally, the slower pace of the movement and combat combined with the more grindy nature of the game means that progression will feel more meaningful and rewarding than current WoW. Number 3, needing to group up and socialise with other players. Due to how some quests in vanilla WoW were massively painful in terms of how grindy they were, it's going to be really common seeing players grouping up, giving each other buffs, and interacting in a way that's not really necessary in current WoW. At launch, I can imagine it's going to be a bit of a battle between groups of players fighting to tag mobs due to little or no phasing, but at least it'll feel like an MMORPG again, rather than the single player shared world current WoW feels like today. Other than the standard kill quests, I'm really looking forward to having to group up with people to kill rare elite mobs, or group quests that actually require a group. I've been doing some leveling in BFA recently and accepted multiple quests that suggest they're designed for 3 players. Every one of these quests have been easily soloable and give rewards only slightly better than your standard quest. It's going to be nice to have some things to do out in the world that genuinely require groups. Number 4, back to being a normal adventurer. Something I've absolutely hated about WoW for the past few expansions is how the fantasy behind your character has shifted from just being a standard adventurer to being the chosen one, the one true savior of Azeroth where NPCs worship you and you're the only person in the lore who can be trusted with artifacts. Yet you still get ordered around like an errand boy doing fairly meaningless tasks by NPCs. In an MMORPG, I don't think this narrative direction makes much sense, and for me it results in the game feeling more single player shared world oriented than anything else. It was especially bad in Legion, going to the class halls and seeing 20 paladins each wielding the Ashbringer, a weapon of great power within the game's lore. It just felt fucking stupid, and I even hated the part in BFA where you're the only one worthy of wielding the Heart of Azeroth on the entire planet. Fuck off, Blizzard. Taking the narrative in this direction is fine for a single player game, but not an MMO. I remember when I used to be excited to do quests for great characters within the game's lore, but now they feel like sidekicks to my character. I'm looking forward to going back to a simpler time and being an unimportant adventurer doing tedious jobs for NPCs along with everyone else, and actually having it make sense from a character fantasy point of view, because ever since our characters have been put on a pedestal in terms of their importance, I've honestly stopped caring altogether about the story in WoW. Number 5, no flying mounts and world PvP. I think if there's anything Blizzard regret adding to the World of Warcraft over the game's many expansions, flying mounts is probably quite high towards the top of that list. For the past 3 expansions now, they've made it mandatory to get Pathfinder achievements before you can use your flying mounts in the new zones, and from a game design point of view, it's easy to understand why. Flying mounts hide a lot of players up in the sky, resulting in areas feeling more empty. They make the world feel smaller and less dangerous due to just being able to fly over everything in a straight line, and their existence is directly harmful to world PvP, with the only world PvP that does come as a result of them being high levels swooping down and ganking a low level. Even at endgame when you're max level, I still think flying's a negative. One of my first raiding experiences in WoW was Onyxia's Lair 25-man back in Wrath of the Lich King. I had no idea where the entrance to this raid was, but beforehand the raid group all met up and we rode out to Dustswallow Marsh together, and it felt really epic, almost like the journey to the raid was all part of the adventure. Flying for me also hinders the challenge and adventure aspects to things such as endgame questing as well, so it's going to be quite refreshing not having this being a part of the game in vanilla. Number 6, having long-term goals to work towards. One of the first things vanilla players tend to bring up in a discussion is how long the grind was to get your epic mount. Back then you unlocked your 60% ground mount at level 40 and your 100% speed mount at 60, unlike today where it's level 20 and 40, and the cost to unlock the 100% speed mount was also 1000 gold, which back in vanilla was a hell of a lot of money and a serious grind even when you reach max level. Additionally, to raid in Classic, you also had to be attuned to a raid before you could even step inside. These attunements were crazy long quest lines that had you travelling back and forth across the entire map multiple times, running 5 and 10 player dungeons over and over, and sometimes doing tedious escort missions. As much of a pain in the ass this sounds, what I want from WoW Classic is the feeling that I've been on a journey, and grinding out 100% riding as well as cracking on with attunements near max level will certainly add to that feeling. For more info on the vanilla WoW attunement quests, I recommend watching Time Warp episode 6 from Mad Season Show. Number 7, upgrades feeling more rewarding and epics actually being epic. Something I noticed from the short amount of time I've spent on vanilla private servers is that leveling feels much harder than current WoW, so much so that any small upgrade you get whilst leveling feels vastly more impactful than those you receive from 110 to 120 in Battle for Azeroth. In classic WoW, pulling more than 2 mobs at a time whilst questing can often result in a death depending on your class, due to limited class kits, mana issues, and the absence of heirloom armor. On the WoW Classic demo on my mage, there were times where I was surviving or dying by such small margins that it feels like any small stat increase would make a welcome difference. Additionally, epic items in vanilla seem to have been something people were actually proud of. As the name suggests, they were actually epic, and required a lot of luck and effort to obtain rather than something you get handed out to you after an hour of being max level. Number 8, class flavour. As unbalanced and poorly thought out a lot of the classes were back in vanilla WoW, one big positive for me is that each one seems like it has quite a bit of unique flavour to it, as well as some interesting pros and cons to weigh up. The mage could make portals and conjure food, saving them a lot of time, money, and also potentially receiving tips by making portals for other people. The paladin's known for being the hardest class to level, except at later levels in zones that contain undead. They're exclusive to the Alliance, provide incredible buffs for raiding and get a free mount. The Shaman's exclusive to the Horde and has an ability called Wind Fury Totem, which lasts for 90 seconds and has the chance to make your party members' attacks hit an extra time for massive damage. The Druid gets travel form at level 30, which is a nice quality of life until you get your first mount at level 40. The Warrior's known for being the best vanilla tanking class as well as being solid in PvP. The Warlock can make summoning portals, health stones, they get a free mount, and and are known for hitting big crits. The Rogue is known for being the most overpowered PvP class and having great single target DPS, as well as the convenience of being able to stealth past mobs. The Priest was known for being the best vanilla healer and being able to have the coolest staff in the game, Benediction and Anathema, and the Hunter is known for having a fairly chill leveling experience due to the pet and needing to switch between melee and range depending on their distance to their target. On top of all this, each class had their own unique class quest lines which, depending on your class, you needed to do to unlock things such as abilities, mounts, pets, weapons and armor. Number 9. Professions being important. Professions in vanilla seemed like they were more worth putting your time into than current WoW. Obviously, with everyone needing to save up 1000 gold eventually for epic riding, a decent amount of that money can be made up through smart use of your professions across multiple alts. If you're a PvPer, engineering seems like a must-have profession. If you're a raider, alchemy can be hugely beneficial. You can make money selling bags as a tailor, or if you wanted to make some extra money whilst leveling, then mining, herbalism and skinning could be good options. Additionally, with the leveling being harder, secondary professions such as first aid could be more worth investing into to prevent some deaths whilst questing. Number 10. First time playing vanilla. This is fairly subjective to me, but I never got to experience vanilla WoW back in the day. I heard all of the stories of how great it was, how it felt like a long but rewarding adventure, and I just want to experience something similar to it myself. I know WoW Classic won't come close to replicating that feeling people must have had back in the day, playing such a revolutionary game for the first time, and everyone being a complete noob needing to discover everything themselves, but at least I'll have some kind of idea of what it was like, and damn, the potential for YouTube content when it releases is just gonna be amazing. But that's it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I'd love to hear in the comments below what things you're looking forward to with Classic WoW, and also let me know the thought process behind the class you're gonna play, as I'm still not 100% sure on that one myself yet, although I'm certainly leaning more in the direction of mage than anything else. Thanks for watching, I hope you all have a great day, and I'll see you again really soon.